Ahead of this winter's World Cup, we're taking a look at the favourites to take the trophy home, and no team is more hotly tipped than Brazil. The Selecao may have gone 4 tournaments without silverware or even an appearance in the final, but they have a rounded, well-coached squad full of stars at the peak of their powers, and they're currently the bookies' pick for champions ahead of France, Argentina and England. So what can we learn from their form as we approach crunch time? How does Tite set up his side, and what are their strengths and weaknesses? On today's EFD Explained, we're taking a closer look at the team wearing the famous yellow shirt. Brazil head into the 2022 World Cup back where they belong, having spent much of the year rated as the best men's international football team in the world, recently taking top spot back from an erratic Belgium after recording 6 wins from 6 in their warm-up for the tournament in Qatar. It's no surprise given their consistency over the last few years. Managed by Tite since 2016, who previously won the Copa Libertadores and a brace of domestic titles with Corinthians, they broke a 12-tournament trophy drought in 2019 when they lifted the Copa America, and since November of that year, they've suffered defeat in just one of their international fixtures, though admittedly it was a painful one, losing the 2021 Copa America final to arch-rivals Argentina. Still, their overall record is borderline frightening. International football largely fell by the wayside during the peak of the COVID pandemic in 2020, but since the start of 2021, the Selecao have played 24 matches, racking up 1 loss, 4 draws and 19 wins in that time. In the course of those matches, they scored a whopping 54 and conceded just 8, showing a steel which has often been overlooked in the best Brazilian teams, with outside commentators inevitably choosing to describe them as a flair outfit. That attacking output is of course sensational, but a backline marshalled by Thiago Silva and former PSG defensive partner Marquinhos is on a run of imperious form, keeping out highly rated defenders like Arsenal's Gabriel, Roma's Ibanez and Juventus's Bremer. And you'd have to go back to October 2020 for the last time Tite's men allowed more than 1 goal in a game, in a 4-2 victory over Peru. What's more, the last time they let in more than 2 in a single fixture was the 3rd place playoff at the 2014 World Cup, when they lost 3-0 to the Netherlands. That stinginess bodes well for the competition itself. The last 2 times they won the World Cup in 1994 and 2002, they boasted the best and second best defensive records at the finals, letting in just 7 in 14 matches across the 2 editions. Since then, they've conceded 20 and 17 across the last 3 tournaments, and even if you take out that 7-1 defeat to Germany, have managed an underwhelming 13 and 16. But with so many star players and egos to keep happy, how exactly is Tite setting up his team to produce such great form? And who is likely to miss out on regular football in the Selecao's trip to the Gulf in December? Of course, there can't be a set lineup in international football. The gaps are so long between games that inevitably players get injured, fall out of form or play their way into the coach's thoughts. But the lineup in a recent friendly win against Ghana is an interesting indication of how Tite could try and get the most out of his squad. Unsurprisingly, given the players at Tite's disposal, it's an extremely progressive 11. Paqueta deployed in midfield gives you an indication of how attacking this team is, though the West Ham man's work rate is underrated, ranking in the top 5% of attacking mids for pressures and tackles last term, and even in the top half versus central midfielders. In attack, it's almost impossible for the manager to keep everyone happy. There are simply too many good options. But intelligently, he's opted for the best blend of characteristics, rather than cramming in all the undroppables and hoping for the best. The playmakers here are Neymar and Rafinha, who always want to get on the ball, completing about 108 passes per game between them, with Neymar ranking in the top 1% of players in his position, and Rafinha much lower but still above average in the 64th percentile. On the other hand, Richarlison and Vinicius complete about 52 passes between them every match. And while Vinicius likes to get on the ball and drive forward, his 12.6 progressive runs with the ball and 4 carries into the penalty area, ranking 6th and 4th in Europe this season respectively, he's comfortably providing an outlet with off-ball runs into dangerous positions, receiving a massive 13 progressive passes per 90, 3rd in the top 5 leagues behind only Mbappe and Sadio Mane. This willingness to be less involved in play might explain why Tite has tended to prefer Richarlison to Gabriel Jesus. Though he's only 2 centimetres taller than Jesus, the Spurs man offers a more physical presence, with roughly 7 more pressures, more tackles and more than twice as many aerial duels contested each game. And more importantly, he's willing to let the more talented attackers have possession, while he drifts around looking for space, getting on the ball about half as often as Jesus historically. Asking Richarlison and Vinicius to play this way might represent a loss for a less talented squad. But Neymar and Rafinha offer so much that Tite can limit his other forward options without losing much offensive output. As mentioned, Vinicius' ability to carry the ball upfield is among the game's elite, but Rafinha is one of the few players currently beating the Madrid man for forward runs and runs into the penalty area, while he and Neymar also boast better vision than the 22-year-old and Richarlison, both making the top 1% of attackers for progressive passes with 7.9 and 7.7 respectively, while Vinicius is at 2.2 and Richarlison at 2.4. Vinicius and Richarlison both hover around 2 chances created a match, but Rafinha is at 3 and Neymar over 4. Add in Paqueta, and you have a ton of pace, dribbling, vision and positional fluidity. It's hard to see a defence coping well with such an array of weapons. Of course, Brazil have rarely been without attacking verve, but some of the shortcomings of the squad could actually help the Selecao at this winter's tournament. In the past, it would have been a sin to ask world-class fullbacks like Marcelo and Dani Alves to play conservatively and help the defence. But with Telles, Sandro and Lodi on the left, and Militao, Danilo and Emerson on the right, there's no reason to expose the team by sending them high up the flanks. Casemiro too will help. Back in 2014, Luis Gustavo partnered Fernandinho in midfield, while in 2018, Paulinho played alongside the former Manchester City star or Casemiro in the engine room. This time, Manchester United's destroyer is at the peak of his powers and has a partner who can both close down opponents and relieve Casemiro of passing burden, allowing him to focus on protecting the centre halves, while Rafinha, Vinicius and Richarlison all work hard as well, making the top 35%, 25% and 7% of forwards for pressing last campaign. Even with Neymar unlikely to put in a shift, it'll be hard to play through this team. Meanwhile, the bench is good enough to make a run at the World Cup knockouts all by itself. Ederson can't buy a game with just 18 career caps for his country, while Fabinho and Bruno Guimaraes are available as midfield options. And further forward, Coutinho, Martinelli, Jesus, Firmino, Antony and Real Madrid's Rodrigo can all swap into attack with virtually no loss of quality. Given the congested schedule of club football over the last 2 years, that depth could well make the difference in the latter stages of the competition. With a settled, harmonious squad, outstanding form and potentially the best depth in the world, everything seems set for Brazil to take international football's most prestigious crown for the first time in 20 years. And even injuries shouldn't derail their charge too much, with so many top-class players that almost any absence can be covered adequately. Momentum also appears to be heavily in their favour compared to their rivals, with Germany, Spain, Belgium, England, France and Portugal all suffering demoralising defeats over the recent international break, while Argentina remain top-heavy and the Netherlands still look a little light on game-changing talent. Avoid the drama that so often features at a World Cup, and the Little Canaries could add a record-extending 6th title to their tally, and burnish Tite's CV as one of the most successful coaches ever. Fail and the inquest will be brutal. So that was our breakdown of Brazil heading into the World Cup, but what do you guys think at home? Are Brazil really the favourites? Let us know who you want us to feature next in the comments too, and if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a video, and we'll see you next time.